Are you ready for a whale of a tale? I hope so, because this IM is making waves. This is going to be a splash. Hello, I'm Master Marslander, and today we have the Hidizs MP143 Salt. The MP143 here is a planar magnetic driver IM that is inspired by salt. No, not that kind of salt. This salt. Salt the humpback whale is legendary. She is one of the most well-known humpback whales on Earth. She's been vital to the study of whales for decades and has an expansive family tree parenting 14 calves, 15 grand calves, and 2 generations of great grand calves. She's a total badass. Now, Hidizs provided this unit to us for this review, so thank you very much, Hidizs. We appreciate you, but as always, all thoughts and opinions about the MP143 Salt are going to be my own. The MP143 is launching as a Kickstarter campaign where Hidizs is going into partnership with WDC, Whale and Dolphin Conservation. This campaign is designed to spread conservation awareness and link the importance that whales, dolphins, and other marine life have in the ecosystem and the general health and well-being of the ocean and therefore the planet. Now, I grew up in an off-grid, renewable energy, waste-conscious, wilderness, wildlife conservation-minded home. And to say that WDC's mission and messaging rings true to me would just be an understatement. And I am very happy to be able to be here to help spread this message and spread awareness of ocean conservation. So save the whales, save the world, and while you're at it, get yourself a kick-ass pair of IMs. If you're interested, there is a link in the description to the Kickstarter campaign. Go check it out. And here they are, the MP143s. They are lovely hunks of aluminum. In fact, they are CNC aluminum alloy shells all the way through, solid aluminum. And the design here, while it may look kind of simple, is actually very, very purposeful and very cool in its purpose. They're, like I said, inspired by Salt the humpback whale. So the design of these, when you kind of take a look at it, you realize there's a lot of symbolism here. They are shaped not only like these lines here kind of representing an ocean and waves, but the overall shape of the shells themselves kind of represent, and I'll put a picture up in the corner here so you can see comparison. The shells themselves represent the overall shape of a humpback whale. And then the little lines also are doubling up as the kind of texture underbelly of a humpback whale. So yeah, they symbolize Salt herself, and by golly, this is a shell design that I think whales everywhere are going to be pretty proud of. So that's super cool. Way to go, Hidizs, to really show some symbolism and love for the whale, for Salt. Thank you so much, Salt, for being such a badass, and how freaking cool is that to implement the design here in such a elegant way and effective way. So looking at the front of the shell, we have Hidizs printed, and then this raised texture here that, again, symbolizing that underside of a humpback whale. The girth of the shell is, substantial, but not too ridiculous. And then we do have a slight little porthole there, as well as the connectors for the 0.78 millimeter 2-pin connector right here. So that's also great. They're using that termination. And then on top of that, we have a modular nozzle system that we've seen before. We'll talk more about this in a little bit, but yes, you can remove the nozzles for different filters to kind of fine-tune the sound that you want to get out of your IM. In terms of its internals, the MP143 sports 14.3 millimeter planar magnetic drivers, which incorporate a 7x7 array N52 magnet circuit. They are 17 ohms of impedance with 103 decibels of sensitivity and have a harmonic distortion level less than 0.05%. Talking about accessories, we get 2 sets of ear tips. Much like what we have seen before, there are physical differences to the types of tips here. So the black are taller, while the white or clear are shorter and wider. You'll also notice that the porthole here is larger maybe slightly larger on the clear than it is on the black. But so they do offer a little bit of a different sound. It's very, very subtle, but generally I tend to prefer the taller black tips because they insert deeper into my ear and provide a bit of a better seal for me, but your mileage is going to vary. We also get this teeny little box, which inside houses the alternative tuning filters, the nozzle filters. Like I said, it does use a modular system where you can swap out the nozzle tips to give yourself some subtle fine tuning to the sound. And we'll talk a bit more about that when we talk about sound and how these different nozzles affect that sound. But they come in this nice little clear case that twists and locks, and boom, there you go. Nozzles. You also, of course, get your manual and warranty card and a simple but functional little leatherette bag. Pinch the sides here, boop, drop your IMs in there. It does a fine job. It's pretty simple. It's actually the same bag I've seen a lot of Hidizs IMs come with. I kind of wish that this particular IM, the MP143, especially with its campaign, I was hoping that maybe it would come with something a bit nicer, like some sort of leather case or wood case or something just a little bit nicer, but it's fine. The bag is very functional and is a nice little bag. You also, of course, get this cable, which comes with the IMs. It's a copper-plated, again, 0.78 millimeter 2-pin connector cable, and it's okay. It's fine. Some of it's the termination here with the 4.4 pentagon is machined lovely, very, very well. It says Hidizs right there on the edge. Very, very nice. There is a 3.5 millimeter option. So when you order yours, make sure you decide whether or not you want the 4.4 pentagon version or the 3.5 millimeter version. But the cable itself will be the same no matter which version you go with, and it's a fine little 2-weave cable. It looks nice. It's a little bit ropey, a little bit tangly. It's not my favorite, but you know what? It's nicer than some IM cables you get stock, so I can't complain too much. And they are marked very clearly, red and blue for right and left. I do appreciate that. The shells themselves are not marked left and right, which I wish that they were. That would be really, really nice. I don't like it when the shells aren't labeled. It just adds a little bit of complexity. A little bit of difficulty, but that's really nitpicky of me, I admit. But yeah, cable's fine. It's just really the splitter here that gets a little bit like wonky and knots up a lot, but otherwise the cable is pretty nice. And then it's unusual for this to be interesting enough to actually mention, but going along with the theme of whale and ocean conservation, the packaging, the actual packaging that the MP143s come in is completely environmentally friendly. There's no plastic used in the actual packaging. It's all biodegradable. It's really cool. Very, very great that they did that. It's a small little details like that I think add to the overall message they're trying to do here with their Kickstarter campaign and their partnership with WDC. So that's worth mentioning. Recyclable, non-destructive, environmentally friendly packaging. Good job. So how do a pair of whales feel in the ear? Well, they actually do a pretty great job considering that they are an all aluminum shell, which does give them a little bit of weight. And they are, a bit on the girthier side. They're a little larger than some other IEMs, but they're also not the largest IEMs out there. They do a pretty excellent job. Now, the actual shape of the shell, it's a little hard to explain. The kind of inner portion of the shell here, basically just around the edge of where the nozzle is, fits my ear very well. It's all this stuff sticking out from here that I can almost feel like it's just kind of protruding out of the ear, but it doesn't really bother me. It doesn't add any sort of discomfort or fatigue. It's just a little bit of an odd sensation, but it's something that you quickly get over once you start listening to the actual music. But yeah, they fit really well. They fit great. And the cable weighs nothing, so there's no pull down weight. And again, even though they are all metal and they do have a little bit of weight to them, it's not enough that I would say is super fatiguing and that it's going to tire you out quickly. I've been able to listen to these for a long time without any fatigue or issues at all. So They fit very well, and the overall seal is great. The passive isolation, passive sound isolation, very, very solid. Can't hear hardly anything. My voice is super muffled. My fan is silent now. Isolation and fit is fantastic. Before we start getting too much into sound, I do think we need to talk about the modular tuning system of the MP143s. Much like we've seen in other IEMs, you get 3 different types of filter modules to go with your IEMs that will kind of help adjust the sound to how you like it. For the MP143s, we have a rose gold set, which they call their balance set, a silver set, which they call the high frequency set, and a red set, which they call the low frequency set. In real life listening with these filters, I think those are pretty accurate descriptions, but I'll break it down a little bit more and give you a little bit more of an idea of how these can affect the sound of the IEMs. The rose gold produce what is, I perceive to be, a very well balanced and mostly neutral sort of sound. The silver set are very similar to the rose gold, but are noticeably brighter, especially also much more mid forward as well. So there is quite a bit of difference in the mid range and the high mids and treble in the silver. The red set, as you would probably expect, provides a more smooth, warmer, and more relaxed overall sound. It is a bit of a bass boost, but not quite as much as you might expect. It's actually a pretty natural amount of additional bass. It's not overly blooming or bloating. It's quite nice. The reds also tend to kind of calm down the mids a little bit, and they push vocals further away. All 3 of these do what I think to be a very nice job of adjusting the sound. Usually when we see a tuning system like this, the adjustments are either very, very subtle or way too much than what they should be doing. But in this case, these do what I would consider to be a very kind of natural sort of adjustment. One thing that I think is very important to point out about the filter system of the MP143s that you don't see a lot in other IEMs that use modular systems like this, but something that I think is missed and very important. These come pre-installed with little black rubber gaskets. That's really important for providing a tight, solid seal. So I think that might be at least partially to, I think that might partially explain why these do such a better job than a lot of the other filter systems that I've tried out there. So that's really, really great to see. Those gaskets are really important. It's kind of a game changer. Something that, you know, the MP143 here needs to be noticed and commented about. So good stuff. Which of the 3 do I prefer? It's probably no surprise to anyone. I prefer the rose gold well-balanced set. That being said though, because they all do such a good natural job in the tuning, I can very well see reason to swap out the filters for different genres of music or different styles of listening that I want to achieve. So again, just really good system, but I do prefer the rose gold for most cases. So now let's go ahead and talk about the sound performance for the MP143s here, and do note that the sound profile that I will be describing moving forward is using the rose gold filters. The MP143s are targeting a 2019 Harman target, though I'd say that they edge a little bit V-shaped on that target. Being planars, I got that planar bass, which is very clean, very punchy, a good visceral kick, and also quite fast. The sub bass is a little subtle. There might be a bit of an early cutoff in the extension for that sub bass, but there is still some. And with the right kind of tracks that really emphasize sub bass, you're still going to hear it and it's still going to feel really nice, deep, and impactful. The mid bass offers a nice, subtle warmth, again, a little bit of that V-shaping, but it's overall very clean, very resolving mid bass, and it doesn't have a tendency to bleed and bloom into your mid range. Maybe a tiny bit, but not enough for me to actually complain about. It's just a nice, solid, punchy, relaxing, warm, feeling comfortable sort of mid bass, and it's really nice. It's very high quality. It is very mid forward, so mid range is kind of front and center, and it's very well executed, very precise, very well defined with lots of layers and texturing, and very good sounding vocals. They're pretty natural, albeit occasionally they could sound a little bit, tiny bit metallic, but I found that to be a pretty rare case that I ever actually noticed that. So overall, the vocals are just excellent. So overall, very good mid-range performance. The high mids are super fun. They're very, very snappy and quick. Again, planars. So high tempo stuff sounds phenomenal with these. Like really fast-paced dubstep or techno sounds super fun and engaging with the MP143s. They're able to produce lots of layering and complexity in that mid-range and high mid area, which just gives you this sense of excitement and dynamics and all that fun, crazy, high tempo-y stuff. The treble is pretty nice. It is a little bit calmed, you know, a bit rolled off there at the top end to reduce fatigue, is what I'm kind of gathering from this. So it does get a decent amount of, you know, higher end detail and a little bit of sparkle up there, but not the most. It's not the most detailed IM, nor is it the most shimmering IM you're going to find. But the overall treble is nice, well-controlled, calmed, relaxed, while also offering lots of good speed. These planars are quite fast, so good planar speed in that treble range as well. Soundstage is actually pretty immersive. These are by no means a narrow IEM. They're not gigantic sounding, they're not super crazy wide, but they're definitely not beaming directly into your ears. If this is your middle ground level of soundstage, I'd say they're more like here, so a good kind of layer or level above medium soundstage. Good amount of soundstage, pretty dang impressive, very, very immersive. And to pair with that immersive soundstage, the imaging is also really quite good. It is omnidirectional and pretty precise and pretty descriptive of what you're hearing. I will say though that about 180 degrees to the side and to the front of you, you are getting a bit more precision, a bit more imaging information from here forward than you are from here backward. It's subtle, but you do kind of have that sensation that there's a bit more kind of going on in front of you than there is behind you. But make no mistake, you are still able to hear when things are coming around behind you. So great imaging coupling with that soundstage. It's just makes for a very immersive headphone, which is also turns them into a really excellent gaming IM. They're phenomenal for gaming. Immersive, dynamic, explosive, and super engaging. But the ocean's a really big place, and this is not the only whale swimming around. If we're going to talk about the MP143s properly, we would be remiss to not also bring in the MP145s, which also happen to be a whale-themed IM. If you take a look here, the back of the shell on the MP145, I failed to mention this in my review for the MP145s, but the shape here on the shell of the MP145s is that of a whale tail. Yeah, so another whale IM, and again, similarly with those kind of little ridges there that simulate waves or also that underbelly of a whale. So yeah, two whales we gotta talk about here. How does the MP143 differ from its bigger brother, the MP145? So first of all, let's be clear. The MP145 is an excellent IM. We really, really like it. We did a very, very positive review of the MP145. So that's really big shoes to fill, really big, I don't know, whale tail to fill. But yes, they're great. They're also $200. The MP145s here in the Kickstarter, $80. So let's keep that in mind as we make this comparison. A $200 IM, a sub $100 IM, but both are big as whales. I don't know what I mean by that, but yes, keep that in mind. Great IM, lots to live up to, but also less than half the price. So what's the difference? First and foremost, the MP143 is a smaller shell than the MP145, just barely. It's really hard to maybe see side by side like this, but you should hopefully notice that the MP145 is a little bit larger, so it's a little bit heavier and a little bit not as comfortable as the MP145. In practice, listening to these side by side, MP145s can tend to get a little bit fatiguing in the ear, significantly quicker in fatigue than the MP143s. 143s do have the edge in terms of comfort, but otherwise they're pretty similar. But yes, 43 is a smaller, lighter IEM than the 45. 45 actually feels quite a bit more substantial in the hand. Look at it this way, you can also notice that the 145 is not only larger on the face, but also girthier too as well. It does kind of looks like it goes in there a little bit deeper into the ear, or actually, I'm sorry, protrudes more outward from the ear is what I should be saying. But yeah, a bigger honkier IEM. And that was actually one of the biggest complaints people had about the MP145. So if that was your complaint, if you got to try the MP145s and you didn't like the kind of size and girth and weight of them, MP143 might fit you better. It certainly fits me better. I do like the feel and comfort of the 43 more than the 45. They also come with different cables. They look similar, but they are a little different. MP143 comes with this 2-weave cable, while the 45 comes with a 4-weave, as you can see there. So a little bit more of a premium cable on the 45, but it's really kind of a toss-up to me. I find both of them, as you can see, both cables get really tingly for me, so there's not really a hard win here in my eyes. But sure, I guess the MP144 has a slightly nicer cable. Now, in terms of how they differ in sound, word on the street was that the MP143 was going to just kind of be a smaller, lighter MP145. Well, that's not actually the case. These approach sound in pretty different ways. There are some familiarities to them. There's probably a overall kind of Hidizs sound going on here, or maybe a whale sound, ooh-hoo-hoo. But they're not close enough for me to be able to say that the MP143 is a, smaller alternative, smaller variant of the MP145. So it's good to know that as we move forward. The MP143 offers a warmer and smoother sound with more mid-bass and more punchy mid-bass. It also offers wider sound staging and overall kind of immersion than the MP145. Where the 45 ends up having the edge over the 43 is in some technical qualities. The 45 does have better imaging and separation. It's more focused and more resolving overall, which results in a more realistic experience, more realistic listening experience. And it even has a better timbre overall than the 43. Especially when it comes to vocals, the 45 doesn't share that kind of metallic-y flavor that sometimes vocals get in the 43. So the 45, sure, back to back on paper, it's going to be probably the more premium listening experience, more audiophilic listening experience. But make no mistake, the 43 is super fun. It may not be as technical as the 45, but it's very, very enjoyable and does an amazing job, especially in its price range. Oh my goodness, under $100. This is a fantastic sounding IEM, no doubt about it. But it is good to know just how the two kind of pair up together. They are, honestly, for me, they're a really pretty excellent pairing. They really sort of complement each other, if that makes sense. So yes, excellent IEMs all around. Whales for days. Woo! The MP143 is an excellent IEM, and it does kind of take some characteristics of the MP145, but tweaks them and twists them to make it a sound all of its own. While it may not be a smaller MP145, it's definitely a complementary pair to the MP145 and an excellent standalone all-rounder IEM. The overall design of the MP145 is fantastic and super, super creative and clever. They did a really excellent job of having that whale inspiration implemented in the design here, and I find it to be... Really, I find the design of the MP143s compared to the 45s, the 43s just... They take the same similar concept, but they produce it in a more kind of minimalist, modern aesthetic that I really like. I think that the design of these is fabulous. It's a robust accessories package. The modular tuning system does an excellent job of offering alterations of the sound and adjusting it to your needs, and it all comes together in an environmentally conscious package. So it's excellent. It's not often that I get to appreciate an audio product while at the same time being able to share my appreciation for what is a net positive cause. Hidizs, you not only made an excellent IEM, but you and WDC should also be commended for acting on a cause that I think everyone's going to benefit from. So again, if you want to take part in the Kickstarter campaign, link is in the description. Hidizs, thank you very much for providing the MP145s to us for this review. We super appreciate you. I hope that you all enjoyed this, and I'll be seeing you again very soon.